All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Gateway Defense Podcast. It has been a while, but we are very happy to be back at it tonight with a very special guest. As always, I'm your host, Brennan Brennick. Back with me tonight is the Justin Anderson as my co-host. He's been, I think, gone for a couple of episodes, maybe. As you guys know, Gateway Defense, we're traveling all around the country, teaching performance shooting, taking classes, competing at USPSA matches. But when I'm home, occasionally get to sit down and talk to our friends about shooting, and tonight is no different. Our topic of the day today is going to revolve around kind of the impact that performance shooting is having in the social media world and the content creation world, as well as just the shooting and training community in general. And joining us for the discussion today is none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Charlie Cox. Charlie, buddy, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. Super
Absolutely.
fun.
I'm stoked to get you on here. This is something we talked about, I think, quite a while ago, and so it's fun to actually make this happen. For the probably 17 people who don't know who you are, give us the elevator pitch. Who are you? What do you do?
Elevator pitch. Well, I am an aspiring competition shooter. Gotten into that for the past year. Really love it, and then have a YouTube channel that try to bring semi-educational content to people. Yeah. With my buddy Betsy. So it's two of us kind of hitting it.
That's awesome. Yes, I think the launch of your channel. When did you start your own channel? I mean, how many months have you been doing this?
I think it was November of 2024.
Okay, so you're like
first episode.
Like 9 months in or something like that.
Something like
maybe
that.
Something.
Yeah.
How has that been going in general for you?
It's going. It's a lot of fun. It's a journey for sure. Kind of morphing into its own thing. Definitely had an idea where wanted it to go, but it's like thinking of content, what's good content, how to film it, editing it. There's been some late nights, but it's been pretty great. The feedback has been awesome. I think a lot of people were kind of expecting a certain type of Charlie, and they got something different. And from what we see in the comments, it's people are digging it, which makes me happy. So people are getting something out of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm just kind of curious before we kind of dive into the topic. What was probably the biggest challenge in starting a YouTube channel? Because Justin and I did this a year and a half ago or something like that, right? And then lives kind of took different paths, and probably the people who subscribe to this podcast are probably annoyed that we don't put out videos anymore. But I mean, there's a lot of work to start for sure. I mean, I don't think people understand the amount of time and effort that goes into just making one 25-minute video. It's like it's a shit ton of work, time, money, effort, shooting takes, batteries, like whatever it is. Like what's kind of been the biggest challenge for you guys launching the channel?
I think honestly it was just taking that step, because I mean, as a former COD enjoyer back in the day, sleepless nights are nothing new to me, but it's taking that step and kind of stepping into that world, especially when it comes to trying to promote like different disciplines of performance shooting or ideas, you know what I mean? That it's, will it be taken seriously? Do I have the pedigree to even speak on something? Who around me, if I don't have the experience or the knowledge, who can I reach out to that might want to come on? And kind of taking that step and seeing if it would be well received. And that's besides all the late night editing with Betsy, you know what I mean? Just, is this going to suck? At first, what do the numbers look like? And then you learn to just ignore them. It is what it is. As long as there's one person who gets something out of it, then it's cool. But honestly, it was just taking that initial step and getting it going.
Yeah, I dig it. Okay, so let's kind of jump into what'll probably take up most of our evening tonight. Let's start with, you mentioned the kind of the term performance shooting, right? Talk about what performance shooting means to you. I think it's maybe a buzzword a little bit. I think various people have kind of had a big hand in kind of promoting it. Like, I think for me, probably like the first person I was really exposed to it was like Lucas, right, from T-Rex.
Yeah.
Kind of doing like making shooting on a shot timer and stuff like that cool. Obviously, he was not doing any USPSA, still doesn't really, to my knowledge. But then USPSA is obviously a completely different thing, and there's not a lot of like USPSA guys in the content creation space. But in terms of, you know, I don't think that that performance shooting has to be USPSA necessarily. But yeah, to you, you know, what is performance shooting? Like, how would you define that, and how would it maybe be different from any other type of shooting?
I would throw it out there as actually getting out there and shooting your guns and trying to have a purpose, which is to get better and to learn, right? It's just like we did a long range video. That's not USPSA at all. I know nothing about it though. So, but it is a different discipline. So that's kind of the performance shooting, what goes into it. Want dudes to, when they see performance shooting, or if I mentioned on the channel, is not just USPSA, it could be IDPA, it could be anything, but it's getting out there, running your guns, and being around people who are essentially just better than you. Go out, get humbled, learn, see what you can gain. Because at the end of the day, this is the gun of the world, right? A lot of dudes carry their guns. A lot of dudes carry them when they're with their families, anything like that. And a match is very different from maybe you walking into Costco with the G19, but there are a lot of fundamentals that are going to carry over. And that's what it's about. Like, having your equipment, not just buying the most expensive thing or buying something because you saw a 15-minute brain rot or something like that. It's actually learning how to run your gun, whatever it may be, bolt, pistol, rifle, whatever it is. That's what I think about when I think performance shooting.
Yeah. So it's kind of just, it's having a purpose and a reason to train, and like some way to track, I guess, your progress that you're making versus just like, oh, I pulled the trigger today. You know, it's
Correct.
like, oh, like you're trying to work towards something, is basically what I'm getting from you. Yeah, Justin, I know you remember this, but I think it was the first video we did on our channel was like a what is performance shooting. Do you remember how we defined that?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I remember it, it's been a minute, but I believe the way we broke it down was that you have to have metrics and you have to have goals. You know, if you were to go to the gym and just go bench unmarked weights, and then you get back home and you're like, dude, I just hit a PR today. I just benched a ton of weight. And your buddy's like, oh, well, how many pounds? Like, how many reps? And you're like, I have no idea, but it was really heavy and I did a lot of them. People would be like,
way better answer.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you sound better for sure.
I'm going to steal that.
But like, you got to have numbers to it. You know, same with like if you ran, 6 miles, but you didn't know it was 6 miles. You're like, oh, I ran super far and I ran super fast. You got to put numbers to it. And so I feel like in the shooting world, because there's a defensive and a tactical element to it, it's tactical in nature. Like firearms are just, defensive, offensive, tactical nature. I feel like there's a disconnect with it, because when you put metrics to it, it makes it feel more like a sport, and then it's like not as serious, and then people think, oh, it's competitive shooting, that doesn't apply to me. And so essentially, like, I remember, Brennan, what our goal for that video was to bridge the gap between normal people who just carry a gun and the competitive shooting world, and say, hey, like, these worlds collide, they should collide. Because at the end of the day, like Charlie, like what you're saying, walking into Costco with a Glock 19, or better yet, a Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0, you just need to have the skills on demand. You need to have the skills on tap. You need to have speed. You need to have accuracy. That's what it comes down to.
Not sponsored. Wish we were sponsored.
Hashtag not sponsored. Wish we were sponsored.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, shout out Glock.
Yeah, Smith & Wesson, listen to us. Remember me. Okay. Yeah. So I think that's solid, right? And I think that a lot of people are actually looking for that, and looking for a way to track their progress, but actually don't know how. And maybe they're just kind of dipping their toe in it to where like they're doing like I thought this was gone, but this just shows how out of touch I am. But like people still like do the printout drills, right? Like from somebody's website, like they print it out on a printer sheet of paper and it has all the instructions on it and they run that and they have their shot timer. And it's like, oh, I just bought this shot timer. So I'm very excited about that, right? Like I have a shot timer. And then they're going to go run stuff and it's going to be par times and accuracy that's pass or fail. And it's like, I truly thought that like as a community, I guess, which is a terrible word, but like that we kind of grown past that. But there's people who still do a lot of that. And I'm not hating on it because that's how I started as well. But there's so much more to it and better ways to track progress than just like, can I pass this drill or can I pass this standard or whatever. And so, yeah, I think there's kind of a lot to it. And hopefully we can kind of get into that. What I'm trying to think the way I want to kind of phrase this question, Charlie, in your mind, like what are the trends that you're kind of seeing in social media? I know we had talked about this a little bit before offline, but what are the kind of the trends you're seeing in social media content creation as far as the actual, we'll call it the shooting community, as opposed to the tactical or LARPing community, or even we could talk about the content creation side, like the guys who just do gun reviews, right? Or gear reviews. Like what are the trends that you're seeing? Like, are people kind of waking up to performance shooting the way that you're presenting it, the way that Justin and I try to present it? I don't know. What's kind of the state of the union there?
I think so. I mean, I've had countless messages from dudes talking about getting into competitive shooting from one of the videos, posts on my stories or something like that, and also other people on Instagram. And they hit me up. I sent them Gateway Defense, the playlist you guys have on USPSA, and it's the easiest way to do it because it was just you. Hats off to you boys. You guys did it really well. But definitely seeing that. And as far as just from the average folk, I mean, I was on the phone with Hunter the other night and someone left a comment like, watched a video of you and Charlie, shot my first match, going to shoot my second match. Like that's been ticking up. Whereas before when it was just kind of not in competitive shooting, I guess to say, I didn't get any of those at all. Locally, whether it's because of the stuff that I'm putting out, you're putting out, whatever it is. I mean, there's a ton of new faces at local matches. I think the first summer I got into it last year, it was like 40, 50 people, like, oh, wow, it's a real good turnout. And now it's like 70, 80 people will sign up just for locals. And it's awesome because it's just more people in competition, you know what I mean? Just new faces, all that. And content creation side, you're seeing a lot. I mean, you're seeing dudes who had, let me show you how to clear this room all the time. Cool. That's dope. That's what you know how to do. They're getting into matches. They're posting about their matches, and they get into it and they realize like, oh shit, I'm not as good as I thought I was. I could probably clear a building really well or clear a room really well, but the fundamentals may be lacking, and it's all shooting at the end of the day. Course one and maybe a little bit more complicated, and so that's like the tactical side or tactics, and then like just like Despot, he was just out here. One of the guys, Thomas from his channel, he shot his first match. They just put out a video today, so definitely seeing it. And I think as far as the shooting community, I think kind of like the old time when you see 2015, 2016, 17, it's like people, what do I want to hear about? I want to hear about that chrome lined 12.5-inch barrel. Like I want to know all about it. Well, that's been said and done 1,000 times. People kind of know there are companies that stand out, a good place to put your money.
Right.
And then it's kind of gear and survival. But I think, the war's over, some people say, they don't want to go like that at the end of every drill, or they're seeing these guys who kind of, they did a good job for the time and what they know, but they're realizing, oh shit, like if that guy stepped into a match with Howitzer, Howitser's going to absolutely demolish him. You know what I mean? Or something like that. Yeah. So it's like, I want to learn how to shoot my gun. How do I learn how to shoot my gun? And I believe, and I think a lot of dudes are seeing it, is one of the quickest ways to get better and just pick up knowledge every time you go to a match, even though you're only shooting 150, 200 rounds and your total time, I mean, it's measured in seconds, is at a competition, whether it be IDPA, which I've only done one, I don't like it, or USPSA, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it is taking a turn on content creation, just people in general who don't put out content, just dudes reaching out, I mean, everything, you know, they're interested. They're kind of going away from the trends. That's not to say there isn't a still large swath of people who I just want to see what that $6,000 gun with $6,000 worth of accessories does in 100 rounds, you know, and good for them, you know, nothing bad. But those people I think are slowly migrating to, well, I think I'd rather just learn how to shoot my gun. I think I'd rather buy 6,000 rounds and learn how to shoot the gun I have.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, man. Like, I think Justin and I were having a conversation about this the other day, and just like, oh, we got to be more active on our individual social media, you know, stuff, putting out like not long form, but like longer form content in terms of, you know, what we're doing in practice and the teaching ideas that we have, and, you know, what we're doing at matches. And it was like, people dig that stuff because it's growing in popularity, and like everybody knows somebody who shoots matches. Right.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't shoot matches, but you know somebody who shoots matches, and it's like, oh yeah, he does that competitive thing. And I mean, for me, and I'm sure for you as well, like I can count on one hand, and it's definitely less than, you know, significantly less than 5 people who have gone to a match and didn't like it. Right. Like maybe they had a really bad experience. Maybe the ROs were dicks to them, or it was just a stupid club that is, you know, not welcoming to new shooters, which is very rare. Or they immediately broke a safety rule and got DQ'd. And so they have a bad, you know, taste in their mouth from it. But I mean, that's so rare. Everybody goes and they usually get their, you know, get stomped on by, by other people who maybe aren't even actually that good. And they love it. Like, it's immediately addicting. They're like, this is super fun. This is like the most fun I've ever had shooting my pistol. And, you know, it's always a positive response. And so bringing that to life, I think, on the screen, right, where like that's where we go to experience everything for the first time. If I don't know how to do something, I'm going to look it up on YouTube. If, you know, I'm interested in a match, like I don't know what a match is or what the hell USPSA is, or, you know, whatever, like I'm going to look it up on YouTube and try to find it. And when you go to YouTube for that stuff, like there's very little of it. And there's very little of even like knowing what's credible as well. Right. So I think something that you're doing that I like is you were like right off the bat, like, hey, like I don't know everything about this, but I'm going to bring in guests to the channel who do know a shit ton, like Hunter, or you had a couple other Sam. Yep. I watched you did like 1 or 2 videos with him. I watched those, and he was just kind of breaking down like how he would attack the stage and little, you know, breaking it down into isolated chunks. And people look at that, they're like, oh, like I could do that. Right.
Yep.
So it's at the same time, it's impressive, but at the same time, it's also looks very attainable because I mean, there's no really truly difficult shooting in a match. It's just kind of all the skills kind of being compiled together, I think. And so just making it more, you know, more accessible to people, I think is a huge win.
Oh, for sure. I think one of the biggest things that I used to get when I started posting like match footage on the story or anything like that was a lot of dudes would hit me up and they would say something to the effect of, oh, I'm going to dry fire for the next 2 months and then take a class and then I'm going to hit a match. Like there was a prerequisite to hit a match, you know? I mean, you obviously want to be safe, everything like that. But, and that kind of inspired the video, Is USPSA Scary? You know, it's not the catchiest title for video or anything like that, but really trying to capture the vibes, you know? In your guys' video, you did such a good job on safety rules. This is what these targets mean, everything like that. And I wanted to, after getting inundated with those messages, like I wanted to show a match, like we're just vibing, you know? And a lot of dudes were watching it and was like, oh, that guy murdered it. That guy kind of sucked, but everyone's still having a fun time. You know, there was a 13, 14-year-old kid who was ripping with a PSA Dagger, you know, and they're just like, there's kind of no excuse. And it was just to get them to realize, like, you're not going to be the best when you go to a match. And if you are, there's not that many people at the match. You know what I mean? So don't go in there, expect to win. Go in there, expect to get humbled. You're not going to be the best. Don't hope to be the best. If you happen to be the best, then cool, you know, I'm jealous, but just go and do it, you know? And when you go in with those expectations and realize it's not that crazy, you know, people are just vibing and having a good time. There might be a one-off where the club is, I know, a little weird or dick RO, but that doesn't happen very often. Those are the people that you see again. And then you start to see their equipment change. They're going from safari lands with like straight up and down mag pouches or something like that, you know, this like, it looks like they're about to jump into Slovakia or something with the 82nd, you know. And then you see them a couple weeks, a couple matches, a couple months later, the next thing you know, they got like a double alpha belt, you know, they got a competition holster and stuff like that. It's like, okay, that guy's sticking with it, you know. So yeah,
he's bought in. Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Yes, sure. one of us. Yeah.
You start to see the lights come off, you know, you start to see bigger dots, no more small RMRs, things like that. That always gets me stoked, seeing stuff like that, because it's just like, oh, that's cool. Because I remember 4 matches ago, this guy was, you know, he might have looked poopy, but he came back. And he came back again. And the equipment changed. It evolved. And he's just hitting it. Because I went through the same exact process, you know.
What was your setup when you went to your first match in terms of your gun, belt, rig, all that stuff?
My first match, it wasn't too terrible. So I got, you know, what people say, the combat belt with Safari Land and all that. And I was like, I'm going to be one of those guys. So I had a T-Rex Ragnarok that was attached to like the Blade Tech 360 rotating thing. That was then attached to a True North. That was then attached to another quick lock thing that was on a core Bear competition belt where the buckle's in front. And then I think I might have had those Mars carriers. I'm not sure if I had those. I have a video from that day. And I was running a Glock 34 with a Delta Point Pro, I believe. The whole setup. Oh, I think I had a leg strap. I'm not sure, but the whole setup was, it literally fell apart on the last stage, which was the classifier. And have you ever shot with Eric Steiner?
I have not, but I know he is.
Yeah. So he was ROing. It was paper, reload poppers, that classifier. And I did paper, popper, got like halfway through the popper, and Steiner's reload. And then I reload and I shoot it. And Steiner turns around. I forget who he was talking to. He was like, oh, I thought I saw a low hit factor before. I was like, oh, sick, dude. Hella defeated. I was like, man. And it was raining. There weren't that many people. I did like shit. And then I go to leave and I'm driving home and I'm checking the big scores. And there's only like 15 or 16 people. And I was like 9th or something. This is just carry optics. And I was like, oh, man, I did terrible. And then I got pulled over because I didn't realize I was going too fast. So that day it was just like Mother Earth was stupid idiot. And then I was like, I'm going back. I'm not going to be a bitch, you know, because at that time I was doing YouTube on someone else's shit. So it's like, I'm not going to be that guy who has followers and then cries and doesn't go back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm going back. And then it slowly took off from there. But it was a hodgepodge of just mess that didn't work out. A screw came out right before I shot the classifier. So Steiner was like, you got to go fix your stuff. I was like, oh, no, we're good. And the holster had like started to go like that. And he's like, no, you got to go fix your stuff, dude. So Trent Miller, he helped me out and like helped me fix it before I could even just completely, before I could even shoot terribly, I had to fix my equipment. So it was interesting.
That's hilarious. Justin, what did you wear to your first match?
Yeah, so I had a Safariland ALS holster.
Oh yeah.
With a bone stock Glock 17, and I had S-Tac Kiwis, and then I had Phobos, like the Phobos double mag carrier with like the paddle, like the ones you get on Amazon.
Oh, like the gun store employee?
Yes, I had one of those
Oh,
because I needed more. I was shooting production, so I needed more than only 2 mag pouches.
Yeah.
So I got one of those, and then I
Those
got the
things fuck.
cheapest. Yes, I needed, and then I got the cheapest competition belt I could, because same thing as Charlie. I didn't want to show up and be like the tactical nerd, so I bought the cheapest competition belt I could find on Amazon.
And
It
put
was some
S-Tac Kiwis on them?
Yeah, that's all I had.
Okay. All right.
Yep. Because I spent like $30 on it, and it was literally just the cheap. I was like, I just want to look, and it was so bad. My Aztec Kiwis were green, and then the belt was gray, and then the holster was black. It was so bad. And then my gun, my Glock 17 was it was FDE in black. It was horrible. It was disgusting.
But what did you think going into it? Were you like, I'm gonna rip? What was your mindset?
I was a little nervous, but I was like, I think I'll do pretty good. And yeah, it was pretty rough. I had, dude, my first stage, I think I had like 5 foot faults.
Nice, dude.
I was like trying to go fast, and I was like bouncing on one foot in one of the shooting boxes, and my foot just like kept touching down.
Every time you shoot, bang, your foot's on the ground. Like, oh shit, you get back up, bang.
Needing another hand to put up the fingers,
dude. It was funny. I'll have to find the video and send it to you guys. It's pretty comical.
But that's amazing.
Yeah. What about you?
My setup was, everybody knows it, the padded HSGI multicam belt, right? Oh yeah.
Tasteful. So tasteful.
And so like, you know that you can't put like, basically very difficult to put like Kydex mag carriers on that, right? Like it needs to be like a Molly one, but in the front there's like 1 inch of webbing available to you from that belt that runs through the middle. So I had a Kydex mag carrier there, and I think it was just an Amazon one. And then I had S-Tac Kiwis. Yes, I had my med pouch. I had rifle mag carrier. I had thigh strap ALS holster. I was running my M&P 2.0, my carry gun that I had already tricked out. So it was actually an open gun because it had a Parker Mountain comp and EDC Magwell tiny on it, just the tiniest. And it was actually compact. But that put me in open. I was like, hell yeah, open. So like, you know, every gunfight is an open. So like I went and rocked that thing, and that was fun because throughout the stage, right, like the thigh strap would actually hold the belt down on the right side. On the left side, because it's not Velcro, like that belt, that thing would just ride up. So like if you didn't start that thing nice and low, by the time you were done, it was like up around your nipples. That was rough. That was very rough. I was like running around. I was like, oh my gosh, my belt's just coming farther and farther up. So yeah, that was fun. That belt did not last too long after I started USPSA.
But man, were those belts cool when they were cool, man? I remember like some of the first gear I got, it was one of those belts. I got a Condor plate carrier with steel flat plates. I was like, oh yeah, dude, we're militia, dude.
Oh, I was so excited about it. Yeah. I love it. Well, yeah, let's talk about gear a little bit, just briefly. I know everybody kind of wants to know about it, but what do you recommend to people who are kind of getting into USPSA? And then I want to go back and talk about like performance shooting with like YouTube videos and stuff as well. But since we're on the topic of gear and USPSA, what do you typically end up recommending to people, Charlie, as far as like, hey, I want to go shoot my first match. I don't want to look like an idiot. I listened to your podcast and you laughed at all my gear. So like, I want to buy some new shit. Like, what would you recommend in terms of like, this is not going to hold you back. This is a good division to jump into, you know, that type of thing. Set you up for success.
I mean, if you start out right and you don't have anything or funds is an issue, go with what you got. You know, no one's going to say you can't shoot. If there's something too egregious, like your holster is around your knee, then hey, can we get that or something, you know? So go with what you got. Even if it's, I mean, even if you have a non-light bearing or whatever it is, simple holster for your gun, and you have to pocket your mags, that's totally fine. You know what I mean? But that's it. If we're going to go into what could help you out, what I did is I went to Stoger Shop and I just bought one of their complete double alpha belts. It can be improved on for sure, but it'll absolutely get you started and do the job. I think it's like $230 or something like that. So even if you have to save up for it, and that's if you're shooting from the waistband, I mean, or you can get a T1C holster and shoot from concealed, then you just got the holster, maybe get an extra mag carrier if there might be a stage with certain amount of rounds and you're going to have to reload twice, something like that. And then once that's what I did, I went and I just got one of their double alpha plain Velcro, nothing crazy. I think it might be the Ghost mag carriers and the Blade Tech holster or something like that. So that's what I ran for a while. And then I kind of slowly built it up, like, oh, that guy's running that, or, just talking to people, figuring out what works, what doesn't work. I mess with my stuff all the time. And like right now, it's still kind of funny. I'm not going to do the clear thing because it's cheesy. If it goes off, it goes off.
It is. It's just like your house. I don't even care at all.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve. But like for me, I think I got the like a Boss hanger with a Boss spoiler joint. They have the Henning, super fancy. It's going to cost you an extra $1, but I just went with the Boss spoiler joint. And then the carry concealment that I kind of did some work to, because the serrations on my gun are pretty aggressive and like to get caught. So I just widened it. I use a rubber band just to keep it in between stages or when I'm dry running a stage so it doesn't fall out. And then, you guys probably know, I completely forgot the CR Speed mag carriers. I really like those. I really like those compared to like the first belt that I had. They sit a little bit higher. They're adjustable. They don't move on the belt, anything like that. Absolutely love those. And then I went with another double alpha with the ratchet system. So I'm super flat in back. Like I got no butt at all. So a ratchet is a must for me. It keeps the belt in place. And then this guy is a magnet I took off of my old mag carriers. And I found this little clip thing and I just threw it on and it works. Front loaded starts, and like I say, I'm constantly moving stuff around, kind of figuring out what works and everything like that. I haven't been in the game as long as you guys. So that's kind of what I'm running. So go with what you have if you don't have anything. There are more budget options, a complete setup. You can just buy once, it'll work for sure. And then if you want to upgrade as you go, here are some things that, and even if you show up going back to run with what you got, if you look stupid, man. I shot Washington State and this guy walks up and he walks up with like a light on his gun. And I was looking at his equipment and I was kind of like, who's this guy? I'm super cool USPSA shooter. I walk up. There's a dude who just made GM out of northern Idaho from a safari land and he absolutely murdered it. You know what I mean? So I'm like, and he was one of the coolest guys ever. Adam Gred. He's one of the coolest guys ever. And I was like, you show up, man. Just show up and then build as you go.
Yeah, that's cool. And you would say like even like a really squared away like USPSA rig, I mean, it's generally not more than your holster on some sort of very sturdy attachment, maybe a magnet, and like 3 to 4 maybe pistol mag carriers. And that's pretty much it, right? On a belt that's really stiff, will support the weight, is not going to basically flop when you run around. Like
exactly. It's super simple. It's not anything. It's not like some of the belts I've worn in videos where it's like I gotta worry about rifle stuff. Like I'll wear a med kit. I mean, I keep like a tourniquet in my range bag. That's just, I think everyone should do. But it really is simple, man. I think the hardest part is when you're getting into it is learning the brands, because it's not as obvious if you're coming from that. Oh, I learned everything from the tactical guys world. These are different brands. It's a completely different. Not completely different, almost the same function, but it is different. So you got to kind of learn what works, and you'll learn that as matches.
When you see guys showing up to matches, maybe it's their first, match, or maybe up to their first like 5 matches or something like that. How much do you think gear actually holds people back?
Not at all. I mean, maybe it's something. I kind of want to say maybe the slightest, but there's so much. I remember talking to you, Justin, a while back, and you had said something like it was like you 30 to 40 matches before you really kind of got in the groove, You know what I mean? So this isn't something 5 matches in and you're just going to be slaying, or you could blame the equipment or something like that. Honestly, what I tell people when they message me for the first time is like, your first time where, you know, mind the safety stuff, fun, slowly take it from there. Your first 5 matches, it's really not going to make a big difference, especially if you're in an area with heat. Like, no, like I said, there's a dude who made GN from the safari land. You know, he wasn't scoop drawing, he wasn't doing anything crazy. So just don't worry about that, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. There's so many like other lower hanging fruit to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean Eric Shawl he's a cop out of Tennessee. He's one of the highest level GMs in the country, and that dude literally competes from his exact duty gear.
Yep.
Safariland stock lock 17 with a X300 ALS holster. He literally runs a rifle mag. He walks up to Chrono at Nationals and they're like, hand us your longest mag, and he hands them a rifle mag.
No, he handed them a pistol mag, and then he was like, well, that's your longest mag. And he was like, what the fuck? He's like, do you have a rifle to shoot this through? They're like, I don't know, man, that's your longest mag. He was like,
yeah, it
wow.
just, this sort of thing, I think it complements skill. You know what I mean? It doesn't buy you skill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like just take that money and go buy a bunch of ammo and go like shoot a major match or something. Like that stuff costs so much money as it is. Like you don't need to be spending $300-400 on a whole new setup when like that's not really going to help you that much.
Yeah. Like the video we did nerfing a GM, like that series, and I'm glad it became a series. Especially the one with not Hunter, because he brought out some pretty Gucci guns. I mean, dude beat me with a high point. You know, my splits were probably faster and everything like that. It was everything in between. You know, he was just super efficient. So, I mean, what is that? That was the point of that video. It's like, yeah, if it's the same shooter, same gun, things like that, obviously. But when it comes down to it across the board, like there's a certain level of fundamentals, movement, everything like that. Worry about that before you start thinking you're going to go and drop $1,000 on glasses that make colors brighter. You know, that's not going to help your shot calling or whatever it is. You know.
Dang it, Charlie. You called me out.
Do you have a pair?
No, but I want a pair really bad.
I wear them.
It'd be cool just to look through them, but
yeah.
I'm not dropping that kind of money.
Donovan just bought like 3 pair, or he bought a pair with like a bunch of lessons. Yeah, like they're really nice ones. I can't remember the name of them. It's the ones that Eric uses.
Pila or something like that.
Dude, what do you do if you scratch those?
Bro, you refinance your house, dude.
You panic.
Yeah, that's it. That's wild, dude. I used to be a little girl about like the simplest like Oakleys that I use my friend to get on standard issue or something. You know what I mean? $1,000 or something. But
like you'd be, if you wear those, you're, you know, and your eye pro actually protects you from like some sort of eye injury, you'd be pissed about the glasses. Like, what the? I took a piece of shell casing to my glasses and now it's scratched the hell out of them. What the heck? Yeah, you could pay some pretty wild money. I think those are like $2,000. I think for those.
It's pretty wild.
Pretty insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. I like that. Charlie, let's talk about a little bit about kind of like your decisions behind some of the like the videos that you're doing, right? So obviously, like I think performance shooting is something that's hard to represent on, or can be very hard to represent on social media or YouTube and that type of thing, right? And it's hard to make it like, one, make it cool, make it something that like people would like to do. Number two, it's hard to represent I guess I'm trying to think of how to say this. I guess like like what you value in terms of performance, right? Like I don't care how expensive your gear is. I care about the skill set. So how do we make a video that showcases skill over gear, or you know, kind of things along those lines. So what kind of goes through your head? What's your process in terms of like thinking of ideas for videos to do? Because you know, that's such a big part of running a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But in addition, like, how do you pick videos that support kind of the overall messaging that you want to put out? Right. Cause I remember at one point you were telling me, you're like, like a lot of people probably know me from other channels or whatever, just kind of being a goofy dude, right? Supporting character. And it was like, I want to lean into the performance shooting side of things and be taken seriously as a shooter. And it's like, so like, and I was like, dude, just keep doing it. Like, just keep putting it out there because it will catch up like very quickly. Right. And I think it already obviously has. But what's your thought process being kind of like, here's the message I want to put out. How am I going to actually make videos that support that?
Well, I guess it was what I didn't want to do to kind of start out, right. And I'll try not to go on a rant, is what I didn't want to do was just like reviews. Now there's some dudes who absolutely kill it with reviews. I love watching Brass Facts, Hop, their sort of thing, because they really care. They put out good info. But as for me, I didn't want to do that. And I don't want to say that's easy, but the content definitely comes to you, especially if you get on company's good side. Oh, new gun here, rinse repeat, here, rinse repeat, here, rinse repeat. And it comes down to a battle of personalities, and I didn't want to do that because I'd spent a lot of time where I was just a personality, you know what I mean? So it kind of goes back just to me and shooting, how much money I've spent on gimmicks, trends that I didn't think so at the time, because I was trusting these people who I thought were making great videos, and maybe they were, it's like, what could I wish for? What information could I wish for when I first got into firearms, competition shooting? What was I afraid of? What was I looking for? Stuff like that, and and essentially a lot of it is like what I don't know. There's certain things I'm interested in, like the polymer versus steel. I was like, oh, I kind of wonder what the difference is, and I can do that. You know what I mean? I don't have to be the world's best shooter. I don't have to be like top 10 national GM or whatever it is. Like, I can get a feel for it, and then there are videos where it's like, I suck at this. Let's bring someone on to kind of show, and it's that conduit, right? I don't know this. Maybe there's a lot of dudes who are afraid to ask questions or don't know themselves. If I bring them on, not only am I learning, I can ask the questions that there might be people out there too afraid to ask, and they can essentially, hopefully they can get those questions answered. Because one thing, it's pretty intimidating, right? Like, let's just say I meet you for the first time, right? We're at the range. You're obviously crazy good shooters. I may not want to ask, like, what does that mean? Or what do you mean? Like, how do you control the recoil? What is recoil? Stuff like that. Because it might just be stupid. I don't really care about being stupid. I don't care about looking bad, shooting bad. Practice score is very public. So if you want to search my bad matches, feel free. You know what I mean? So, and that's what inspires video ideas. So there's a couple of video ideas where, like, one we're going to be doing coming up after Area 1, where it's not a review, because I'm not reviewing these guns. It's like 3 guns in particular. These are the 3 guns I'm interested in, but of course I'm going to upgrade them. These are my experiences to me, right? Other people have had different experiences, but I'm just going to put out that information. I'm not comparing them necessarily. Well, there might be some comparison. But hey, if you're just getting into it and you're going to upgrade, and these are some of the most popular guns, these are my experiences. Take it with a grain of salt, take it however you do, but this is what I experienced with these guns. There's another one where it's like a certain type of gun I would carry. And it's like, I would really only want to carry that gun under very specific circumstances. And if there was there's certain work done to that gun. And this is kind of a gun. I noticed there was a trend with this type of gun for a while. And a lot of it was, look how cool it is. You should get this. This is awesome. Look how comfortable I am. And it's like, yeah, but your bill drill on a bad guy in Costco, you're sending 3 rounds over his head, and it's going to hit someone in the background. You know what I mean? That's kind of the inspiration. So I said I wasn't going to go on a rant. I definitely went on a rant, but long story long, I guess. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think it, at the end of the day, like what I see from your channel, at least from my perspective, is just trying to tie things back to basically like the skill sets that you think are important, right? And it's like, I think it's important to be able to shoot at a high level to defend yourself. I think it's important to be able to shoot at a high level if you're just like a gun owner. And I think it's important to go down the rabbit hole of the performance thing because it's fun, right? And there's just kind of like these principles that I feel like the video support. And I think what you do a good job of is kind of grounding the videos as well and just making it very apparent that you're just a normal guy. And it's like, hey man, like I'm just out here, I'm just doing the thing, right? And you can do this too, and that type of thing. And I like that perspective a lot. I think that's something that Justin and I had kind of plans for, and we'll probably see it again in the future on the Gateway channel. But like, yeah, reviewing things from a shooter's point of view, like an actual shooter, right? Like, what are the things I actually value in, upgrades on a gun, right? Like, what makes you decide if this trigger is actually a good trigger or not, or what to look for in a trigger, and like how do you decide that? Like, what shooting experience do you actually draw on from that versus just like dry firing this gun in a gun store and saying, yo, this trigger is great or this trigger is trash, and I think that's basically as far as like a lot of the reviewers get. And I think people are starting to see through that as well. Like, I think people will go on a channel and they'll watch and they can, I probably, a lot of people still don't know, but at least for me, I can watch a video and tell that this person was paid to say good things about this gun. Right. And I can also tell when someone has a lot of time behind that and they're speaking with a lot of authority from experience. It's like, man, like you don't have time on this gun. I can tell it's brand new, right? Versus something, it's like, hey, I carried this for 4 years, right? Or whatever it is. It's like, okay, like I give that guy a lot more credibility. Or like the stuff you're doing with like your Nerf the GM, right? Like those guys picking up guns that are not theirs or whatever they're not used to running and running them at a high level. It's like, okay, I could actually respect that this dude's ability to run a gun, even though it's a shitty gun or a hilarious gun to make him run. Like this person has something valid to say now.
Oh, for sure. And it's kind of interesting because we can tell, right? Like you guys are at a different level of shooting. I've been doing it a little over a year, just an A-class for life guy. You know what I mean? And I feel like now I would really be able to tell. But I think there's a lot of one thing you pointed out. You can tell when they're just bullshitting or when it's paid. There's a ton of people who cannot, and they won't be able to, especially when they don't run shit. Because I guarantee you, it happens. You know what I mean? There's a lot of money that floats around in some of those spheres. Is that a bad thing? No, not necessarily. I mean, we're not commies or anything. Like, yeah, go get your bag. But then when it comes down to suggesting this gun and you should carry it to protect your family, when in the background, was it paid? Was it not paid? Then there's an issue. That doesn't sit right with me. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and that's a positive side of getting people to actually shoot their guns and to get into competition. Because at some point, they're going to be able to look at some of these videos, and it's not everyone, but they are going to be able to look at some of these videos and be like, oh, that's just bullshit. I'm not watching this anymore. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I think it's a similar thing in even other industries too. Like in the YouTube space, my brother-in-law is in, or historically has been in like the 3D printing community, and he's kind of moved on from that into different forms of manufacturing. But he had a lot of experience with like Bamboo Lab, 3D printers, which are like the Cadillacs of 3D printers now, or like hobby 3D printers. And he put out a review on it, and he literally had bought like 8 or 9 of them, and he'd been using them full time for like a year as like a business owner. And the comments in the video were like, man, this is so refreshing, because every other reviewer was like, yeah, so I got this yesterday. I assembled it and I did like 8 prints of like the stock prints that came with the thing. And it's really good. Like, I really like it. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, dude, you haven't even used this thing at all. Like,
Mhm.
you know, and it's funny because you hear that and you're like, you think this is maybe unique to the gun industry, but it's really not. Like, I mean, imagine, you know, reviewing like a home gym set and you're 300 pounds. People are like, do you really expect us to take you seriously, or did they just write you a big check? You know, so
Yeah. Yeah,
I think I think
absolutely.
I think it really just comes down to like what your priorities are and what you're really trying to get out of it. And I think it's cool seeing guys like you put the content out that you are, because I know that like your priorities are in the right place. And you can see that it really comes out in the content. So it's cool
Yeah,
that people are recognizing that.
it's lucky. Like, so the guy, Fetzy and I, we do this channel together. He does all the editing and all the shit that really sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it comes to it,
I do know what you
but
mean.
he competes as well. He got into it. I can't remember exactly when, but it was right before we started the YouTube channel. He competes as well, and he has a very similar mindset. And I think more and more dudes are going to get that mindset. And there's a lot of comments on our videos is like, "Oh, this isn't just slop," you know. And it was really interesting when we started the channel because we were talking and we're like, you know what? There's gonna be a fucking spike in views. It's gonna go up because they think maybe some viewers think it's gonna be just quick gun reviews with a very dumb personality, and then it's like, oh shit, this is about shooting, And I think that's really interesting because in this gun world, the shooting world, the thing people don't care about most is shooting, which is like, but it's like you said, it's just like any other industry. A lot of people want to be sold to or just entertained for a few minutes before they take off to church or the store or something they can listen to in the background. Fire, like they could just send it, forget, never have to think about that video. And then they want it next week or something like that. That's always, that kind of boggles my mind a little bit, like this guy really cares about gun, 2A, this and that. Yeah, but I haven't been to the range in like 6 months, but I'm good. I mean, I know guys got full jobs and stuff, and they have over 100 guns. A ton of them they've never even shot. And if they have shot them, it's like, cool, got the suppressor, shot 10 rounds, sick. And then they'll tell you all about it, how cool it is, And to me, it's like, yeah, I don't really, like, my gun collection is very small, and I really don't give a shit about that.
Yep. Yeah, I see people do the same thing with like, I used to work for an optics company, and dude, I would see the same thing from like people getting an optic. Like they would take it out of the box, they would look at it all like under a microscope, they would put it on their gun, they'd look through it like on their gun, and they're like, yeah, I don't like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I know for a fact that you've not shot that gun yet, or like you've not shot that dot yet. And if they did shoot it, like they zeroed it. And that was literally the extent of it. They zeroed their gun, they shot the rest of the rounds out of their mag, and that was it. And that's their evaluation of a piece of equipment. And it was like, man, like what I'm really interested in is like a shooter like Justin, for example, or a shooter like Hunter Constantine, going, okay, so I've run the Holosun 507 Comp, the Vortex XL, the Trijicon SRO, and whatever, the SIG, whatever, XL, Giant, Max, whatever thing, right? So it's like, okay, so the big window optics on the market. Why do you have a preference one for the other? Because so much of like gear discussion does come down to preference, but like, what is it about your experience that informs your preferences? Right. And we see the same thing in the instruction space. It's like, you're teaching this method, like what can you draw on from your experience that can support this method that you're teaching me, right? Or this skill that you're trying to teach. And it always just has to come back to that. And the issue, like you said, you nailed it on the head, is that the last thing people care about is the actual shooting, which is so crazy.
Yeah.
It really is crazy. Like to us, it's crazy, but to regular dudes, they don't know. They don't know what they don't know. So like that's completely oblivious to them.
And that's exactly it too. Like, I think that if they were and that's the whole thing that we're trying to do, right? But if could be exposed to this type of shooting and exposed to the types of people who value shooting skills over gear and Instagram drills and things like that, it's like, I know they would be into it. Like,
Sure.
like, you know, that they would see the value of it and be like, wow, yeah, the way you're training is really making you a better shooter in any context. And like, oh, you know, as soon as people see your experience, they immediately start asking you questions about your experience. And that's how you know that, like, hey, this stuff has a lot of validity. So yeah, I like that a lot. Let's pivot a little bit. I'm curious to know, you know, what I would like to know is kind of before you started down the performance shooting journey. And I don't know if you mark that as like by the time you first started shooting matches, or if you feel like the performance thing kind of started for you before that or not. But what did practicing or training look like before? And what does it look like now? Specifically, I would say, like, how has shooting USPSA specifically changed the way that you train in terms of just like your own practice outside of videos, outside of, you know, YouTube?
Yeah, it's definitely changed a lot. I mean, when I was living in Washington before, I would just go up to Cat Forest, go to a pit, and there were literally some days it was like just sub 2 second build drill, and I'm a good shooter. You know, hit it and be like stick. You know, or maybe this like plate rack I could put on wood, or the paper things. You know, which did help. And every once in a while there'd be enough guys to where it would be a little mock stage where we had no idea what we were doing at all. And if I were to run it again, I'd be like, yeah, just don't anyone touch anything for a minute. And I suck at building stages, but like I could do a way better job. It wasn't very beneficial, and it wasn't always with pistol. It might be with the rifle. A lot of times I would just kind of put it into the category of almost plinking, man. Then when I got into USPSA, movement, you know, you see this whole thing and it's not just shooting, you know, it's like, okay, I need to go faster, but how do I go faster? Do I just really run fast? No, not necessarily. How do I approach a target? You hear entries and exits a lot. What are those? You know what I mean? So even my training now, I mean, I need to improve. There's lots of stuff I know I'm missing, but it's like, I've really taken what that Sam dude does. And it's like, okay, what did I suck at that match? Let me try and just my dry fire alone, you know, recently has been, it's a lot of draws. You know, you can sit there and you can just draw, surrender draw, you know, turn around. Hopefully I can nail that classifier and I can get A or N or GM or something like that. But it's like, and then just maybe standing reloads. And it's like, no, maybe how am I going to approach a target and find that balance if I step and I draw, you know? So picking up stuff for matches and then kind of putting it into right now, putting it into my training. And like right now, so I have kind of like a standish deliver a day, maybe like designated target. I remember I was speaking, I believe it was with you, Justin, or maybe I just saw it on your Instagram, difficult targets at distance. You know what I mean? And I'm aiming to fail because I can shoot all alphas all the time for the most part if I take a lot of time. But where are the wheels falling off? You know? And then I'll do a movement day, which I've done a little bit, a couple of weeks, I think, since right before Washington State. And it truly has evolved to almost just pointless. I'm wasting money and I'm not spending time with my family, to where now I'm going out and it may not be the best training. I may not know how to do it correctly or to the best of my abilities, but I'm getting something out of it. There's a purpose, and I'm coming home with homework and I'm putting it in dry fire. I'm testing it at matches. It's a rinse repeat cycle and it always changes. Like I had a problem a while ago where it was like, where I enter on a target, right? It's like an attack target during match, and I'm coming up on it where I draw, I'm coming up, I'm in the shooting area, and for some reason it was Alpha Charlie. All right, what's the problem? So like before Washington State, I practiced it. I still did it at Washington State, but I practiced it. So it's ever evolving, but it is vastly different than what I used to do. It's almost like if I could go back in time and beat myself up for being a dumb nerd, I would.
Yeah. Because back then too, like, would you say that you had a desire to become a better shooter, but you basically just didn't have a roadmap? Or was it just like literally just like, I don't have anything better to do, I might as well just go shoot a gun?
Sometimes it was I have nothing better to do, I'll go shoot a gun. But then sometimes it's crazy because I was even oblivious to the roadmap because I got to a
Yeah.
certain point where it was like, oh, I'm kind of the best out of my friend group. And I was like, I'm a good shooter. That's what I
Yeah.
thought. I didn't realize that I needed a roadmap. I needed to see how much I suck. And that kind of ties in when I went to my first match. I got really humbled. You know what I mean? Because I'm
Yeah.
not as good as I thought. You know, it's not just stand and build drills all the time. It's not a Mozambique at 3 yards away like all these YouTube videos are showing. Like, no, there's actual shooting. Then it opened my eyes. There is a roadmap. How do I train? How do I dry fire? You know, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think that is ultimately the beauty of competitive shooting, and I think it's I feel like it's what's lacking in the performance shooting world where guys are trying to do the performance shooting thing, but maybe not really do the competitive shooting thing. And
Mhm.
I just feel like there's a disconnect because the whole point of performance shooting is to constantly improve and,
Yeah.
you know, raise your floor. And the whole like competitive shooting gives you a never ending pursuit of excellence.
Yeah.
Right? Because you go to a major match and guess what? You are probably not going to win that major match unless like you're literally top 50, top 100 GMs in the nation, right?
Yeah.
And so until you get to that point, like you have a roadmap. Like even if you're not totally sure exactly the process, you at least have the roadmap to get there, right? Or you know where you want to go. But like if you have even the performance shooting element with a shot timer and you're scoring hits and your scoring hit factor, like what is the goal?
Yeah.
What's the
Exactly.
goal, right? And so I feel like that's the missing element, and that's why, like to me, performance shooting without competitive shooting, it's kind of there's something missing to it.
And there's a pathway. It's, you know, I like to tell people because for a while I was super like classification, right? That's what means something.
Mhm.
And then you talk to the big dogs, they don't give a shit. You know, it's like, where'd you place in that match? Something like that. And it's like, okay, I'm going to start out. I'm going to try and win local, carry optics. Okay, I'm going to try and win overall. Okay, cool. I'm going to hit a state match. Okay, I won a state match. Oh, I'm going to try and hit an area match. Cool, won an area match. Let's say you go to carry Nats and one day you win it. Cool. I have to go back and win it again to prove it wasn't a fluke. It's literally never ending when it comes to that stuff. You know,
Yep. Yep.
you
I
just get
totally
better,
agree.
and then you have to stay on your game. Like, let's say you're Christian Silent, you know,
Yep.
that guy is staying on his game because even though he's won the top of the top, now it's like, who's catching up? I'm going to continue to get better, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you go back to nationals year after year. It's like there's nobody showing up to nationals who, you know, wants to do worse than they did the year before.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? Like everybody has been improving. Everybody's been working their butts off. Everybody has been, you know, putting effort into it. And so, I mean, we even look at the guys who are shooting and winning nationals now compared to the guys who are winning nationals 20 years ago.
Yep.
And the level of shooting is much, much higher now because, I mean, I almost think it's kind of that rising tide, you know, raises all the ships, right? Like everybody
Yeah.
comes up with that base level of performance. As it gets better, everybody has to come up with it.
Yep.
And so you know, you start seeing standouts. And again, just to kind of bring it back, like it's that we have the opportunity to let that trickle back through the people who follow us on social media or follow us on YouTube or whatever, and just kind of be like, hey guys, like there is another level of performance that you're missing out on. We want to introduce this to you so that you can start thinking about it and learning about it and things like that. So I think that's super cool.
It's kind of like skateboarding. So I used to skate when I was a kid before I busted my knee.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was young, you see a dude and he like, let's say kick flips down a 12 stair, something like that. And then every once in a while I'll go to these skate pages and it's like, oh, that's a 7-year-old kid kick flipping down a 15 stair. Like that's the standard now. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like that with shooting. I thought that was just kind of interesting. So
yeah, totally. It's like the Olympics. Like you look at, I've been a snowboarder my whole life, and you look at like who's winning, the snowboard open, or the park in the Olympics, and it was Shaun White for so long, and now it's like some 12-year-old kid from Japan that beat Shaun White, and you're like, oh, is that what's happening now? Okay,
Japanese are taking over.
pretty
No
much.
offense, Brendan.
Yeah,
It's fine. I'm not Japanese. Fuck those guys. Mostly fucking Chinese. That's the biggest thing. But I like it. I like it. So one other question I got for you, Charlie, and then maybe we'll jump into some listener questions. Most of the questions we got were just absolutely degenerate, but so something that Justin and I have, we've talked about it a lot. Justin and I have taught classes a lot together in the past, and YouTube and all these things. But the thing that changed my life the most in the performance shooting realm and jumping into USPSA was really coming to understand hit factor. Like hit factor informs so much of my training, right? And this is something that I push to my classes like as hard as I can, outside of basically, hey, master grip sights and trigger. Those things never go away. Like you always have to be masterful at those. Outside of that, it's hit factor should inform your training, because it informs you of what you're good at, what you suck at, and how to find the balance of speed and accuracy. And before I started USPSA, there was no good way to balance speed and accuracy in terms of any sort of, performance drill or performance thing that we were trying to accomplish. It was always pass or fail in terms of accuracy, and pass or fail in terms of the time, right? You either met the time standard or you didn't. So hit factor was like, it immediately made sense to me in terms of like how they scored it. I was like, okay, cool. Like I understand it. But it was not until probably 2 years into shooting USPSA that I was like, oh, wow. Like there's actually a lot of information that will inform my training based on hit factor and running drills and hit factor and things like that. Do you have any thoughts or similar experiences or anything like that when it comes to hit factor? Because that is usually the thing that guys who aren't in our world are usually like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, you want to do like hit factor, whatever. So basically you can shoot fast and miss more and you can beat me. Okay, I got it. Right. Like, and that's usually what we get. Talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So that's something I'm really kind of learning. I remember when I first got into it, there was an instructor who went to a match, and it's the only time, even to this day, I've seen someone like zero a stage consistently. His times beat everyone, but the amount of no shoots and mics. And I remember someone shot a stage. It was a buddy at that time, and he shot a stage and he shot it really well. And everyone's like, oh, dude, good job, man. You know what I mean? And this guy comes up and is like, oh, I was faster though. And it's like, bro, you got like a 1 hit factor. You know what I mean? And it's, so that's for those guys. So it's like, hit factor this and that. It's like, okay, well, if you want to get into it, you got to account for those rounds. And guess what? That guy didn't account for shit. He just got a life sentence. That's what he got if he were to shoot like that in public. And as far as like the competition, more towards competition, I'm realizing it helps me find what I can get away with. So like Washington State, this is the first season I'm like hitting majors or more majors. I'd only hit one before, and I was like, I want to use Washington State as kind of like a test, right? Because I collect a lot of points, or relatively a lot of points compared to the guys who were beating me consistently, but my time was down. So I'm like, I'm going to see what I can get away with. And my first day of shooting, and please visit my practice score and check out how shitty my hits were. But I was getting away with enough to kind of keep me in the realm of things. And it was telling me like, oh, okay, like one, I can go faster. I may be able to blend these positions a little bit faster, but my shots are kind of shittier. That was too fast. And then day 2, I toned it down. Still probably going a little faster than I should be, to kind of see what I can get away with, because I wanted to reach a point of failure. And there's nothing like a major match to embarrass yourself at. You know what I mean? Like you can kind of do it a local, but it really gave me 2 days to really experiment. So experiment I did. my first no shoot was the first shot on the second stage. And I was like, let's go, dude. You know what I mean? Let's push it. Not to where I was like that one guy zeroing stages or anything like that, but definitely outside my comfortability zone. It can tell you so much, because then I got to look through the times, and it was cool because Seiler was there, Barnes was there, Sam was there, Miller, Steiner, like all these guys who shoot way better than me consistently. And it was like, this is me not approaching Seiler. I mean, his times were insane. That dude is just, he was built different. You know, some people, dudes may not be born liking dudes, but Seiler was born good at shooting. You know what I mean? That dude is,
I wasn't sure where you're going there. But,
yeah. Hopefully that got the point across. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain that skill.
He's good at shooting. Yep, got
it. Thanks, dude. But no, it gave me, so, okay, my times came close to these guys and my hits were trash, but it was better than these guys who had better points and their time was slower. It just really gave me something to kind of look through over the course of, I think it was like 12 stages, and dissect it to people who were better than me, people who placed lower than me. So it's huge, and I'm still figuring it out. I don't have the right answers or exactly how to go about it, but it gave me some information, some feedback. So now I'm like, do I want to have that same mentality toned down going into area 1? Do I want to shoot conservative like I did the Idaho State match, my first major? Do I want to, you know, so I'm going to kind of revisit that before it comes up this weekend and really tell, because right now it's like, it's not the end of the world if I do bad, but if I could come out with a lot of homework rather than just like a 5-stage match, which just doesn't tell me as much, then I'm going to do that. And then next year, when I plan on hitting Nats and a lot more majors, hopefully I'm more set up, if that makes sense. So some people don't agree with that approach. Like, I had people at that match like tell me like, oh, don't do that. And, you know, I respect that because they were better, but it was like, I need to embarrass myself a little bit. I need to find where the wheels fall off, and hit factor will tell me that these points, this time, how accurately. Yeah. So still learning.
Yeah, I like it. Justin, you have anything to add on hit factor stuff?
No, you guys covered it. It's good.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I think it's just so cool. Like it's something that even the most elite shooters that I know that I've had the pleasure of shooting with, guys who have national world championships under their belt, multiple, are still shooting, you know, hit factor is still informing their shooting, and hit factor is still informing the way they're going to approach the stage and how fast they're going to do it, or how many points they need to collect on this. And, you know, hey, who else am I competing against? Oh, I'm competing against this dude. He's really fast. I mean, it informs 1,000%. It informs the way I compete against Justin, right? Because Justin and I shoot the same locals usually. And it's like, I know that Justin tends to be faster than me by recently. I would say around a second is pretty normal for him to be around a second faster than me on a stage. And so I have to look at that and go, okay, if I watched him shoot a second faster than me, but he dropped 8 Charlie, like I know that there is a window of opportunity here for me to tie his score or beat his score if I can be more accurate than him and less than 1 second behind, right? And it's crazy that like hit factor will give you those types of parameters to, like we said at the beginning, like balance speed and accuracy, because you have to do both. The guys that win matches had the best balance of both speed and accuracy. It wasn't just that guy who just went, you know, nuts out and and fastest raw time champ, you know.
Yeah.
And it definitely was not the guy who shot all alphas either, right? But it probably wasn't some guy who had like 14 deltas and, you know, 10 mics and, you know 3 FTSAs and things like that. It's like, it's not going to be those guys either. It's going to be somebody who has a really healthy balance of, you know, hey, I shot between 90 to 95% of the points, and I was in the top, you know, 5 for fastest time overall. It's like, that dude is going to win.
Yeah, that's what people should get the practice score competitor app, because that's what I've been doing the past couple months. And I'll stock your guys' practice score, like check out Waller, check out Donovan, like all these guys I'm seeing. Because the big problem with me is if I threw a delta, it was the end of the world. And I'm looking at theirs, and it's like, no, stuff happens. There might be a no shoot in there, and these guys gives you a lot to play with and to look at. So hit factor is that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Yep.
That you can go down, but it really is. It's awesome. It's great.
Yeah. And even understanding how the points are relative to each other too. For instance, at the Northern Illinois sectional that I just shot recently, I had a stage win on a stage that I had a mic. But the thing is, a single mic is the same as 5 Charlie. And so, I only shot 1 Charlie. So if you think, it was the equivalent of 6 Charlie on like a 28 round stage, which is actually not that crazy. And so, like, obviously a mic is still not acceptable, but like I also had the fastest time by like a second, right? And so just understanding how like these hits all correlate with each other and how to better play the game, I just think it's so cool.
It changes your mentality. If I threw a no shoot before, I'd be just a poop sandwich the rest of the day, And then there's a guy that I train with, and we're training at the hits and accuracy and speed like that. And I was just trying to be so conservative and get my points, and then I throw a no shoot. And then one match, he threw, it was like a no shoot. It was a no shoot and a mic, or maybe just a no shoot, and he still beat me on that stage. And I beat him on points. And it was like, oh shit, it's not the end of the world. And when you look at these things, you look at hit factor, stuff like that. Not only can it inform your shooting, it can inform your mentality the rest of the day. Because let's be honest, no one wants to be around a prick for 3 stages.
Right. Yep. Totally agree. We'll have to do a whole podcast episode, I think, on like hit factor. It's such an interesting topic. But Charlie, dude, I appreciate you being on. The thing that I want to end with, if it's all right with you, just some listener questions. I try to end with a couple of these.
I will not rant during these. I'll be
no worries. We'll kind of do a rapid fire type deal. I'll read some of these. Some of these might not even need some answers. We probably dealt with some of it. Some of them are silly, but we'll go for it. So the first one, I think it's hilarious. This guy said, for carry optics in USPSA, how would you rank Glock, CZ, and 2011s? I don't think that dude knows that you can't shoot 2011s in carry optics, but we'll change that around a little bit. What is your current recommendation for a carry optics pistol?
The carry optics, I mean, I'm shooting a Glock 34. I played with the M&P. I like the M&P. And also the Walther PDP and the 5-inch polymer or steel. I'm going to start dabbling at the end of this season with the steel frame.
Okay, cool. Let's see. What are your current USPSA goals?
Honestly, just to see where I stand after these majors, because this isn't, God willing, right, that I can shoot it next year and the year after that and the year after that. I'm pretty fresh to it. There's a lot to learn. I want to see where I stand and then go into it with more of what can I win? What can I place top 5 for the following year?
I love it. So just kind of getting a feel for where you're at, and then what do you want to really kind of attack the following year. Cool. I love that. What was or is your biggest struggle in shooting right now?
The biggest struggle in shooting is getting over that conservative mentality and getting a little bit faster without shitting the bed too hard, which is kind of like what I did at Washington State. I need something big where I can embarrass myself and get over it to find out what I can get away with. There are people beating me by 2 and 3 seconds that when I train with, they're not. So what's the mentality going into matches?
Cool. Yep. I like that. And if you had to identify one thing that tends to slow you down the most, what would that be?
It would be the thing that tends to slow me down the most is being afraid. I think Jay Bill said it on a podcast, so I may not get the wording correctly. Careful shooting doesn't necessarily result in your best shooting.
Yeah, I like it. Do you find when you start aiming too much, pulling the trigger slower, that it slows everything else down, transitions, movement, all that stuff as well?
Absolutely. Yep. For sure. And this is a game of seconds.
Yep. Cool. I like it. Usually don't say who this is, but I'll shout him out. So Brantley Merriam, he said, tell him to stop click banging his trigger. So There you
Oh,
go.
what does that mean? See, that's something I don't even mean. What does that mean?
Click banging. So click banging is where you basically like pin the trigger back, and the trigger doesn't reset until like the gun's already back.
Oh,
I don't know.
yo, shut no. That's
Maybe
awesome.
he saw something on your video and he was like,
Guarantee he did. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm taking that to the range tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yo, shout out.
Yeah.
Shout out Brantley.
Shout out Brantley and shout out JJ. Click banging was like a term that he kind of coined, I think. But yeah, it's definitely something you want to avoid. Let's see, a couple of good ones. Somebody asked, what's the best pun or joke about your name that you've ever heard?
The best what?
Pun or joke about your name.
Punter joke?
Pun or joke.
Pun or joke? I mean, it's a pretty straight obvious thing, you know. I think the funniest thing I run into is ROs at different clubs. They don't want to say Cox, so they say Cokes. Charlie Cokes. That's the funniest thing. And then at Washington State, there's a lot of people who watch the channel and they go, Charlie Cox. Cox is on it. So, not really a pun, but
yeah, that's good. That's good. I like that. The homie Buck Lawler, he said, do you have the goal to reach GM?
You know, I definitely, obviously, I do have the goal to like reach GM, right? I think a lot of us do. But one thing that I learned recently is, and you guys have said, if I've talked to you on, I've spoken to you guys on the phone about this, like the letters will come. So yes, that definitely is a goal, but I want to be, especially with the new classification system, I want to be able to go and hit GM anytime I step up to the plate, because there are some dudes I can absolutely do that. I don't want to be a guy who hits 95.01 and then in 2 weeks is sitting at 75 for the next 6 months.
I like it. I dig it. So you definitely want to be a GM shooter, not just hit GM eventually.
Correct. I do not want to be a paper GM. You know, I would rather stay A for the rest of my life and compete with the M's and GMs who already put in the work than be a GM and be sitting, nothing wrong with it, but be sitting with the season Bs all the time.
Love it. Love it. Two more. What was the most humbling thing when you started shooting USPSA?
So I guess like 2 forms real quick. Humbling is that I'm not as good as I thought I was. Just right off the rip. I'm not as good. And then being on YouTube and stuff like that, obviously the names out there, right? Cool, a lot of followers, stuff like that. When I was showing up to these matches, no one gave a shit about that. What was your hit factor? That's it. And that was humbling in a different sense, a very good sense. Not that I was seeking people to be like, oh, that's Charlie, but there was a sphere where people didn't care, and it was about shooting, and that's what I was there for. And it was humbling in a very, very nice way.
I love it. Last one. How often do you get feet pics from Indian scammers?
It's whenever I want to respond to one of them. There's only been one time that I think they've been got before, but I can literally, I think the quickest I got it was like 3 to 5 messages or something like that. Dang. And you can take it as far as you want. I have a video on my phone where I got one of the Indian dudes to go in the bathroom, take off his shoes and socks, wiggle his feet, and go, "Hello, Charlie Daddy." I mean, even someone just decided to try it one day, and they got a foot pick, and then they came up to shoot, had never met him before, and they framed and gave this to me. So I keep that in this room here. But give it a shot, guys. Give it a shot. The only problem now is we're actually coming out with patches, and it's hard to find a good patch maker.
That's very funny. Justin actually had patches made by an Indian company, I think.
Yeah, and they turned out great.
Yeah. Some of them they all might not be scams. It's just I really, really like it. I haven't gotten a Nigerian dude though. Those are out there. Someone sent me some. What was it? It's a HRF. You know that company? I believe they make like manuals for ARs.
Yeah, HRF Concepts. Yeah.
a god when it comes to getting them. He doesn't post them, but he sends them to me, and he'll get them to say stuff. I thought I was good at it. The videos he sends me, so funny.
Oh my gosh.
So funny.
I'm gonna have to hit him up and ask him about that.
Do it, and try and get some. It's really nice, man, because you waste their time, and if it's daytime where you are, it's nighttime and smelly where they are. So it's just like they get pissed.
I love it. Well, I think that is I think that's a great note to end on. Charlie, man, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. This was fun. I think it was a good conversation. Both Justin and I really dig the type of stuff you're putting out, and just, bro, I know sometimes like trying to put out the content that doesn't write the big paychecks can get old and discouraging and stuff. But I think you're making a big impact, bigger than maybe you even know. People are aware of kind of the path you're taking and what you're trying to promote, and just keep that up, man, because it's definitely making an impact. And I think we're slowly changing the culture, kind of 1% at a time, one new USPSA competitor at a time. And just, man, I think that's a worthy cause, and it makes people better all around. So keep that up, man.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys having me on and just having a conversation. Big takeaway: I'm going to the range and going to figure out this clickbaiting. So I appreciate you guys a lot.
Hell yeah.
Even before this, talking to you and helping me out.
Of course, anytime. Well, guys, there you have it. There's our conversation with Charlie regarding performance shooting in the social media and content creation space. Go make sure you're subbed to his channel, which, it would be very shocking if, the 14 of you who watch this channel are not subscribed to his channel. But if you're not, go do it. Keep up with what he's going on, support him where you can. We'll link all of his stuff in the episode description. As far as us, as far as Gateway goes, you guys know where to find us. Classes are always current on the Gateway Defense website. Best way to support us is to come train with Gateway. We appreciate the heck out of you guys for watching, listening, and supporting. And until next time, keep practicing shooting. We will see you on the range.